Family meeting. Everybody come downstairs right now. Okay? This is very, very important. Huddle up. Emergency meeting here on the YouTube channel today. Kevin, put down that iPad. Okay? You're going to need to pay attention to this one. Billy, you're a good kid. Okay? You do your homework and you watch my index videos. You know you're my favorite. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehaus. Here we are back in the Collector's Corner. Very interesting video that we have here today. Emergency meeting. We have to call it. We have to have this conversation. A lot of stuff going on in the collectible world. A lot of over-leveraging in comic books right now. And this is kind of a serious conversation that we need to have. Kind of a serious topic that we need to address. And maybe a good reminder for a lot of us to sort of have this conversation with ourselves to talk about how, you know, the collectible market has always been something that was supposed to be, disposable income. And right now, in this current climate, in this current market, a lot of conversations going on. Shout out to Bronze Age Nerds, Frankie's Comics, filing for bankruptcy, over-leveraging, running their online business. Shout out to Automatic Comic Books, talking about people spending $10,000 on House of Secrets 92s, just exceeding their budgets and their financial capacities. And even from my own personal experience, conversations, talking to LCS's dealers, all sorts of things. Guys, the amount of people right now that are over-leveraged in the comic and collectible space, the amount of people having to sell their collections, the amount of people having to resell some of the big collectible keys that they bought, in the past year or the past 2 years or whatever the case is, in order to, get some money back because they have to make, some rent or they have to pay some bills or whatever the case is, frankly is alarming. Maybe it's not alarming. This is something that, we've talked about here on the channel before. We knew that, it was going to be a tough market. We knew that things were going to get a little bit tighter. That gone are the days of the overnight free flips for a lot of comic books. And so we knew that this sort of situation might manifest in some kind of way, but it is still, shocking to hear some of the stories pop up. It is still surprising, and I think this could be a good conversation for us here today because there's two things that I really want to address in this type of video. It's going to be a little bit all over the place. We're obviously just doing kind of an intimate conversation here, but the first one that we need to discuss is this idea of keeping up with the Joneses. We talk about the FOMO aspect in the comic book hobby all the time, right? And we make fun of, or I make a lot of fun of chasing the Spider-Boy book, that sort of thing, or whatever it is, first appearance of Frogman, and whatever James Gunn, Creature Commando, FOMO purchases and things like that. But FOMO can always manifest in other kinds of ways too. FOMO can get any side of the comic book market, even the golden age side of the comic book market, right? People can have FOMO on a lot of books. And so we need to talk about this idea of keeping up with the Joneses. And then the other part that we need to sort of talk about is, this idea in comics of, having it be something that can make someone money, or it being a good, investable asset and that sort of thing. And while I do think that a lot of people can make good returns on comic books, while I do think a lot of people do make a good amount of money in comic books, there are very few types of people that are actually able to do that. And I want to talk about those three types of people later on in the video as well. And I think that that's something that we need to remember if we are people who are, in the comic collectible space. You're getting excited. You want to buy comic books. You want to go to the moon. You want to go buy the Spider-Boy stuff and go to the moon. I think that there are certain things that you need to remember that are important, practices to have in this comic book space. All right, so that's kind of my framework for the video. Of course, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. But let's get into it. Now, again, kind of like what I was saying, there's been a bunch of events recently that have kind of maybe want to do, this video here today of the people that are over leveraged in comic books. And let me preface this conversation one more time by saying this is not financial advice, okay? Here on my channel, I don't give you guys financial advice. In fact, most of the times, I barely give you guys my actual opinion on things. I share with you guys my thoughts, and a lot of times when I make videos, I try to create, sort of an objective standpoint on where I'm coming at with a certain topic, and then it's up to you guys to sort of determine what the subtext of what I'm implying with a lot of my conversations. I mean, if you watch my whiteboard videos, you know that I'm telling you something even though I'm not actually telling you something. But in this video, while this is not financial advice, let me actually just tell you a little something of my own personal thoughts right now. If you are in comics and you are buying collectibles and you want to buy grails or keys or whatever, you should not be buying collectibles on credit. Okay, this is not a good thing to do. This is not a good idea, especially now. Now, again, I'm not some financial, counselor for you. I'm not a financial professional, okay? But I know enough to know that in this current climate, especially now, with the interest rates of credit cards and stuff, it would be one of the worst decisions to do to buy a comic book on a line of credit and only make minimum payments for that. Because no matter what equity you think you're going to gain in that collectible or that comic book based on like the returns or whatever you're buying it for is never going to outpace whatever the interest rates for the credit card thing is right now. So this is something I want you guys to know. Every time I make a comic book purchase, it is all with money that is expendable income, and it is always with cash. I mean, by all means, if you want to buy a comic book on credit and then pay it off immediately so that you get points on your credit card, I mean, hey, that's great. That's a smart purchase. I mean, I've done that before as well. But I don't ever think that you should put yourself in a position for a collectible, for a comic book, where you are using, credit, or you're robbing Peter to pay Paul and that sort of thing. I mean, that was, sort of the situation with the Frankie's Comics. It's like, it's a little bit different. We're not talking about, necessarily from a business side, but, the volatility in the collectible space has always been there. The risk has always been there. I mean, so much of what I talk about on the channel is it's not so much about what book is going to go to the moon. It's always about what book is not going to fall off the cliff, right? You got to protect the downside risk, and there is downside risk in comics and collectibles. And in the last couple of years, a lot of people have really overreached, and maybe they bought stuff on credit. Maybe they, agreed to do payment plans, which again, guys, look, to each their own. I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do, but I don't see how making a payment plan with a comic book dealer is a good thing for you to do. I mean, look, maybe if you're going to buy like a 5-figure, 6-figure book, and you got to like move some money from one bank account to the other or whatever the case is, like I can understand like a week payment plan, or like, hey, I got to just move some things around. That kind of makes sense. But if you're like buying $1,000 comic book and you need like a 60-day payment plan or a 30-day payment plan, you probably shouldn't be buying the $1,000 comic book. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you'd be better served to just save money, save a little bit, have cash on the side, and then when that $1,000 opportunity presents itself, then you can hop on that opportunity. Then you can capitalize on that thing. Because that's the thing too, is, I know people want to keep up with the Joneses. They see the stuff, like they see the Swagglehaus unboxing, they see the whatever, I bought like this $100,000 comic book collection, blah, blah, blah. And it's very, very exciting. But the reality is, even if it is a good buy, and even if people are, making moves and having opportunities out there, it's not for everybody. It's not so easy to just make purchases and then flip those collectibles for profit. I mean, there are so many factors that go into this. There is so much risk in these markets, and there's a lot of books that, frankly, are never going to take you to the moon, even if you think that they will. And this is one of the things where you can't buy everything. I think a lot of people get caught up in the hype. Whether it be, the new comic of the week, or it be the golden age, record heritage auction sale, and now I need to get myself a Punch 12 comics. Like, you can't have everything unless you're Jeff Bezos. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things that you have to recognize, that you have to accept that there are going to be certain comics, there's going to be certain opportunities, and there's going to be certain collectibles that you're not going to be able to get, or you're going to miss out on that book, returning a profit for you. Or there's a spec that you're not going to make money on, or there's a grail that's going to sell for under market and you didn't get to have it, or there's whatever, a collectible is going to pass you by that was a good opportunity, and whatever, you just didn't have the cash at the time to buy it, and that's okay. That's okay. You just let it go. There will always be another book. There will always be another opportunity. I promise. You've been in it long enough. Even super rare books show up. They do. Even super rare books show up. Now, yeah, you may not be able to own a Suspense 3. Not everyone gets to own one. Only 30 people get to own a Suspense 3. But that's okay. It's okay. It just let it go. Indiana, let it go. You know what I mean? So that's something that I think is an important reminder, guys. I mean, right now in this market, it's wild how many people got over leveraged. I mean, if you spent some time in my DMs, my messages, my Instagram DMs, I mean, it's alarming. Some of the stories that people tell me, with people having to sell off, or sales pages and things like that. Some of the things that I hear is, it is definitely concerning, how many people buy maybe not the right things, how many people really overstretched. And this is something that I think each individual person, watching this video, you guys need to be very, very careful and very, very cautious with how you approach your comics and your collection. Now, let me transition over to the second thing that I wanted to address in today's video, and maybe a little bit of a sort of takeaway in this situation, and that is this. Comics and collectibles, can people make money in it? Yeah, absolutely. People can definitely make money. Can they be good sort of alternative investments or assets for people? Yeah, sure. It depends. It depends on what you buy, but sure, certainly. They can definitely return money for some people. But there's something that I think is very important for a lot of people to remember. And again, guys, we're talking about this just purely from a financial side of things. Like, if you're just buying and you just collect, like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You can afford to buy a book. You want to buy a book. You want to collect it. Okay, cool. Good. We got that out of the way. But the one thing to remember is there's three types of people, three types of comic collectors that make money in comic books. Okay, there's three types. You want to know who they are? The first type of a collector who makes money in comic books is someone who is now in their twilight years and bought Golden Age and Silver Age books off the rack and have been sitting on them for 40 plus years, and having paid cover price for them, are now going to sell them to Flip Mode Comics for them to sell on Comic Connect, and their name is Bobby Blue. Like, that's one type of person who can make money with their comic book collection, right? Or maybe you're the heir of somebody who, had a collection and you inherited it, and you're kind of operating, at a cost basis of zero because you inherited a gold mine of comics. So that's one type of person, okay? The second type of person who can make money in comic books is somebody who is already rich, right? Who is already rich, who has the ability to buy really rare, really amazing comics and just hold them for 20, 30 years. And then later on in life, they can offload them into the market, or maybe you're somebody who has been buying comic books for a long time, and you bought well, and you have a lot of good stuff, and you've been able to hold your comics for 30 plus years, right? You had the time horizon to hold the comics because, just due to the natural rate of inflation, you're going to make money regardless, so that when you have to unload your comic book collection back to, some comic book dealer, even if they can only pay you, 50% of fair market value, like the fact that you bought all this stuff so long ago and you've had it for 20, 30 years is going to be, still a mega profit for you. because, even at 50% value, I mean, you bought these things for, cents on the dollar. So you're in a good position. Now, the third type of person who makes money in comics, and this is probably the majority of people who make money in comics, are people who sell comics. Yeah, I know that's kind of like a meme. It's like, you got to like sell comics to actually get the money out of it. But this is very true. You actually have to sell comics. Now, that's not to say that you have to be a comic book dealer. You don't have to be a dealer. You don't have to start a full-on comic book business. But in the collectible space, you have to take short-term gains. You have to take some profits. You have to be, in my whiteboard situation, you have to be a trader, seller, hybrid in order to, get equity and to always improve upon the current comic book collection that you have. And the most people who are successful operate in that way. You can't just jump into comics, watch some, YouTube videos and look at the hot lists and buy like the top 10 hot books, and then 2 years later expect your portfolio to have quadrupled. Like, that's not really how it works, right? I mean, I know you guys know this, but this is just a reminder to someone who thought like they were going to go to the moon with Spider-Boy. I mean, you have to buy books for good deals. And then I always say, like, people ask like, oh, when should you sell? It's like, so whenever you're in the green. That's like what I always say. Whenever you're in the green, you should sell. Anyways, why am I talking about this? How does this relate to, the beginning topic of the video? Again, I think what I wanted to get out of this was to say, I think a lot of people over leveraged in the comic book space, either one, because of their wanting to keep up with the Joneses, or two, because they thought they were going to go to the moon. And I try to, in this video, remind you guys that one, you cannot keep up with the Joneses. Okay, you will never have as big a collection or as good a collection as the next guy. There will always be a bigger fish. So it's okay. Don't compare your collection to someone else. Compare your collection to where it was yesterday. This is like what people always say. It's like in anything in life. If you're on a fitness binge, or you're trying to improve your financial well-being, or you're trying to improve whatever your drawing skills. You never compare yourself to other people. Always compare yourself to where you were yesterday. And the same is true with comic books. So put away the keeping up with the Joneses aspect of comics. And then the number two thing is, like, if you over leverage because you thought you were going to go to the moon, I mean, time is money, right? You have to have a long time horizon with a lot of collectibles that you buy, or you have to be able to take short-term gains and profits when you find comics at good deals, and then you can sell them for, whatever, a 30% return. These are the two ways to, have a successful return in comic books, or to be successful financially in comic books. And if your expectation is like, oh, I'm going to buy like this mega key on credit, and whatever, like 30 days later, I'll just figure out how to pay it. Like, and then I'm just going to be able to sit on it. Like, if you can't actually sit on it, if it's not disposable income, it's probably not a good purchase to do. And also, you have to understand that sometimes the instant flip for comic books, like, that doesn't exist anymore. That doesn't exist. Like, sure, you might find a great book for, a good deal. But if your credit card payment is due in 30 days and it's going to take you 90 days to sell the book, well, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? You can't over leverage. Anyways, I've been talking really long. That was just kind of my emergency meeting. I had to call down the family guys here. We had to have this conversation. Again, I highly recommend, and this is not financial advice, I highly recommend that you guys use caution. You guys are safe. You don't use credit to buy collectibles that are only supposed to be bought with disposable income. And don't worry about keeping up with Joneses. That's all I got for this video. Okay, be careful out there. Be safe. It's going to be, the market is great, or market's not great. Comic books are great. Market's a little bit tough. But hey, things are going to be great. Comic books are going to be good in the future. You just have to be able to hold on. I know everybody's calling me Bergelhaus, like I'm so down. But I'm not down. I love comic books. I have a YouTube channel dedicated to comic book collecting. How do I not like comic books? Anyways, that's all I got. Be safe out there. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next video.